Hi, I'm B,
And I'm Brian.
and I've been vegan since 1991. I'm 52 years old now, so that's 33 years of being vegan.
And I've been vegan since 2002. I'm 55 years old now, and I was vegetarian for 5 years before that. So that's 26 years of being vegan or vegetarian.
And in that entire time,
We've
we take
taken
no
zero
supplements.
supplements.
Zero. And our point is we get asked a lot what supplements we take, and we're just letting everybody know once and for all here, none. So we're going to share a lot of important information with you about why they're actually dangerous.
So yeah, this is the information the supplement industry does not want you to hear.
Hello, welcome to another episode of Vegan Health and Fitness Podcast. I'm here with my partner, Brian Akery.
Hi.
A lot of you may know him as the co-founder of Vegan Health and Fitness Magazine, was our managing editor. He's worn many hats over the years doing so many things. You may also know, or maybe you don't know, that Brian and I also have a law firm called the Law Offices of Carey and Akery. I'm Carey, he's Akery, and we do a lot of different kinds of law. We've done immigration law, business law, trademark law. But what we're here to talk about today is like what Brian really specializes in and has done. How many years now?
Oh gosh. At least 25 years.
And the kind of law that he's been practicing for 25 years that we're referring to is environmental law, which involves protecting consumers from harmful chemicals in products. And so there's been a lot of different kinds of products and a lot of different kinds of chemicals. But way back 25 years ago, you kind of cut your teeth on lawsuits with the supplement industry.
Yeah, that was really my introduction to environmental law. Was very, very early case of looking at contamination of herbal remedies and the damage that was causing in the state of California, the people who were getting poisoned by various pharmaceuticals and contaminants and heavy metals and things that they thought were going to help their health. So
that's the thing that I'm always trying to stress to people as I counsel people on health. There's so many people who eat healthy, exercise. You're my peeps out there. The people who follow this, you guys are really concerned about having a healthy lifestyle and taking care of yourselves. And unfortunately, because of the mass amount of marketing that is just shoved down our throats all day long, every day, just about, it seems like everywhere we turn, they're constantly telling us, you need to take this pill or take that pill or use this powder or use that potion. All these things are created in laboratories to make us even healthier than food and the things from nature can possibly give us. They say we need it in a larger dose and in a different format. Maybe we don't like the taste of garlic or something like that, so we're going to take it in pill form. And they're trying to make it more convenient, easier, and it all sounds so lovely the way that they market it, saying that it's going to help benefit your health in some way. But unfortunately, as lawyers who've been just keeping an eye on litigation that's going on, especially in the realm of consumer products, we've been privy to a lot of information that maybe you haven't been privy to in the massive number of lawsuits that happen all the time against supplement companies. And you'll hear things, and I hear them sometimes in the wellness community, where people will say, oh, these poor supplement companies are so tortured by the FDA and by complaining people who are just litigation happy or what have you. But let's talk about what really goes on and the truth about this. So you're probably not aware of this, and I'm going to be doing some reading here just so that everything is perfect that I'm saying to you, so I don't say anything incorrect. I'm going to be quoting some top people. Most adults in the United States take at least one dietary supplement. The industry rakes in almost $40 billion in sales every year. But it's also true that about 23,000 people, that's a lot of people, visiting emergency rooms every year due to supplement-related adverse events. An additional 275,000 people call poison control every year due to adverse reactions from supplements. Now, if they're as safe as everybody says they are, why is this happening? When most people are questioned as to why they take supplements, they think that they're doing it as an insurance policy for their health. They're going to get some kind of nutrients that they can't get from food, which, let me just tell you right now, you can get every nutrient from food. Anyway, this 2018 article in Scientific American, very highly respected journal, was titled "Hundreds of Dietary Supplements Are Tainted with Prescription Drugs." Prescription drugs. You heard that right. In dietary over-the-counter supplements. The subtitle is "Less than half of the products were recalled," a US FDA analysis found. Well, that's interesting because the US FDA are the people who are supposed to be doing the recalling. The article goes on to say that over the last decade, more than 750 supplement brands have been found to be tainted with prescription drugs, sometimes containing 2 or more hidden ingredients. That means not listed in the ingredients. There's no way you would know it was in there. 2 or more. That's 750 supplements. I mean, when you go to purchase a supplement, you're really rolling the dice that you're not going to get one of those. And these are all recent studies. In a 2021 study published in Cambridge University Press's prestigious journal, Public Health Nutrition, researcher Brian Denham found that of all the lawsuits introduced or decided in the United States federal courts between 2010 and 2019, more than half involved defendants charged with introducing misbranded food or drugs into interstate commerce. Contaminants secretly added to supplements and not included in the ingredients list included anabolic steroids, erectile dysfunction medication, prescription weight loss drugs, dangerous stimulants, and mind-altering substances. So, I mean, that's scary to me.
That's really scary. And, there was I remember reading an article in the New York Times about how the FDA had found an amphetamine in a bunch of over-the-counter supplements and did not release the names of the supplements or the companies that were making these supplements. And so then a couple of years later, there was another test done to see, like, well, did everybody take this amphetamine out of their supplements? And they didn't. So, the federal agency that's charged with protecting us doesn't do a very good job of protecting us. And a lot of times they will conceal the identity of manufacturers that are adulterating their products, to protect them. And, they're supposed to be there protecting us. So you can't count on a government agency overlooking or reviewing or, making sure that these chemicals or these, constituents of nutritional supplements are safe. They're just going to be considered safe until we start getting sick from taking them. Basically.
And then there are lawsuits that happen occasionally, but when you look at how many people can afford to bring a lawsuit, how many people after their loved one has died from or had to get a liver transplant, or these are people who are spending large amounts of time in the hospitals and have gigantic hospital bills. They've been through an enormous amount of stress, and then even if a lawyer were to approach them and say, I really care about what's going on with you, I'd love to represent you in this, I want to go after that supplement company and get them, a lot of the times the people will be like, you know what, we've just been through so much, we just can't do it.
Right.
And even if the lawyer was offering to work for free, which a lot of times the lawyer's not working for free, we have to pay the bills too. And so it's a situation where there's when you look at the massive amount of lawsuits that are happening, you can just imagine how many thousands of people on top of each of these lawsuits there are that are not bringing lawsuits. And
right.
Even if they are bringing lawsuits, sometimes, like you're saying, the government agencies are protecting these supplement companies.
The Dietary Supplement and Health Education Act was passed in the 1990s, and it gave supplement companies immunity from lawsuits for making various claims about the health benefits of their products.
If they say something vague, like it boosts your health or it makes you feel great or something like that, they can get away with that. There are lawsuits that happen when a supplement company will say something like, this little pill of powdered vegetables is equivalent to eating 30 salads. There was a recent lawsuit like that where There's the California task force that actually brings lawsuits like that. And they said, that's ridiculous. If you powder a bunch of vegetables, which is what they were doing, and then put some of it into a capsule, you probably got about the nutrition of a pea or a blueberry, depending on if it was a fruit or a vegetable capsule. And then you're saying that has the equivalent of 30 salads. That's just not physically possible. But there's a lot of crazy vague claims that they are allowed to make.
Sure. I think the act was originally passed to promote the vitamin industry. And so it stopped the federal government from regulating the industry at all, really. And they there's no testing has to be done to make sure it's safe. The onus then is put on us, the people who end up, the consumers. That's where all the law enforcement happens, is people have to get hurt first, and then they have to bring lawsuits and win the lawsuits. And that is a terrible, terrible, terrible way to try to protect the public health, because it means people have to get really hurt first before anything changes.
When they say the FDA would like to require us to do more testing, the supplement industry is asking us to sign these petitions saying, if this passes, that's going to mean testing on animals. So I've actually signed those petitions saying, I don't want them to have to test on animals. I'm not going to take the supplements because I know better. But it's sad how many people don't know better who are taking the supplements. And I'm not saying that I want them to be tested on animals. I certainly do not. I don't think that testing pharmaceuticals on animals benefits anybody's health either. Those are different species. That humans, they find differences in how a product reacts in the body of a mouse compared to a rat. So just imagine comparing that to how a substance reacts in a human. And so it's just not scientifically a very valid thing to do. Unfortunately, that is the way that our government has gone about doing things in the pharmaceutical industry, requiring them to test everything on animals. That does not provide us with any more safety. Clinical testing may be beneficial, but then you always think, who are these poor people who are being tested on? But the way that things are right now, anybody who's taking these supplements is a guinea pig.
Sure. Well, I think, even just sort of having some sort of minimal scientific basis to make the claim that what you're promoting is safe, that it also is what you're saying it is.
Right. Well, let's talk about that.
Sure.
Okay. So we just talked about that there are things that are secretly put into products, that there are things that are misbranded. We're going to talk specifically about the names of those supplements and who the people were behind them and what happened to those people that we know about. There's still a lot of that going on that, like I said, nobody's checking into it. So we don't know how much of this is still going on. According to an article on probiotic safety published in JAMA, the Journal of the American Medical Association, in 2018, from 2016 to 2017, the Food and Drug Administration inspected more than 650 facilities that produce dietary supplements and determined that more than 50% of them had violations. More than 50%.
That's an enormous number, really, when you think about it.
It's crazy. These included issues with the purity, the strength, and even the identity of the promised product. I mean, come on. Probiotic supplements have also been found to be contaminated with organisms that are not supposed to be there. In 2014, such a supplement contamination with fungi caused the death of an infant. So this is serious stuff. FDA spokesperson Courtney Rhodes, this is the spokesperson for the FDA. So this is not, a group that hates the FDA saying this. It's the FDA spokesperson Courtney Rhodes said, by law, the FDA doesn't approve dietary supplements or product labeling. The companies that manufacture or market the supplements are responsible for ensuring that their products are safe and lawful. Oh, so we're supposed to trust the people who are selling us something to tell us the truth about their product and to stop selling us that product and stop taking money from us for that product if they find that something is wrong with it. That's requiring way more trust than I have in the greed of human beings. I'm sorry. Courtney Rhodes went on to say, unfortunately, there are examples where the FDA has determined that an ingredient in dietary supplements is prohibited by law for various reasons, and yet we still find those products on the market containing, or we find other products on the market containing those ingredients. So the fact that even the FDA says you're not allowed to put such and such in these products anymore, like, well, we all know there was amphetamines in, say, Dexatrim in the 80s. We have a lot of jokes that have been made
Sure.
about these housewives that get all jacked up on their diet pills and they're cleaning the house like crazy and running around, and everybody's like, wow, why is mom so hyped up, and it's a big joke, but it's like these ladies were being, I guess it was men taking it too, but we always joke about moms
Sure.
acting all kooky and not knowing why, and then finding out later, oh, they were on crack. Basically, they were giving them, there was amphetamines in their
Sure.
dietary supplements, but it's still happening today.
I mean, the dietary supplement industry, like you said, it's a $44 billion a year industry. So it's incredibly competitive. And there is a temptation, if you're a dietary supplement manufacturer, to go ahead and adulterate your product with something that's going to give people an effect. So if you put steroids in there, they'll see muscle growth. If you put amphetamines in there, they'll feel like they have more energy. And that's, honestly, sometimes those ingredients are cheap, they're easy to get. And as we're going to show you, case after case after case after case after case, this happens all the time in America.
Yeah, most of the ingredients that we're talking about are being sourced from China. The cheapest place for manufacturers of supplements to get their ingredients from. And sometimes the manufacturers mean well, and they think they're getting a certain thing, and it can be adulterated in the process. But in order for them to make a profit from selling their supplement, they have to source the ingredients from the cheapest source that they can possibly find. And that's usually from China. And it makes it very difficult for somebody who's trying to work in their office and oversee distribution and all the important things that need to go on in the United States to go all the way to China, which I was just in the East, and it took me 24 hours to fly to Thailand. And so, it's a similar amount of time to fly to China. It's not easy flying over there. And then it's a communist country, and then going around and going through all the red tape of the paperwork you have to do every time that you come in, all the customs stuff that you have to go through. You're going to spend several hours in the airport every time that you arrive. I mean, gosh, people don't want to do that. It's horrible. And then you get there, and then you got to drive around, and everything is written in foreign languages. I mean, it would be very difficult. I mean, you'd have to get a translator. And so this is why so many people, even though they mean well, they're not able to go to the source where their ingredients are coming from and make sure that everything is being done to a high standard. And instead, they're ending up with stuff in their product that they don't even know is there. So there are people who do know, and we'll talk about that too. As Peter Cohen, a physician at Cambridge Health Alliance and Harvard Health, said, there is nothing in the law to ensure how a plant is extracted or prepared. As assuming that what you're eating in your supplement is from a plant. Okay, so let's talk about what happens to the people who have gotten busted doing the most egregious things.
So in 2019, a supplement manufacturer received a 3-year prison sentence for marketing and selling a supplement containing sildenafil. That's the active ingredient in Viagra. And in a separate case, a defendant received a 100-month sentence after he sold $11 million worth of a supplement containing tadalafil, which is that's the ingredient in Cialis. Both defendants imported ingredients from China, and according to the FDA, between 2011 and 2017, they manufactured at least 5.5 million pills from the imported powder. Some pills contained 14 times the level of tadalafil found in Cialis pills. And 14 times. So that's the equivalent of taking 14 Cialis pills. And so, I mean, not surprisingly, a number of the users who took this ended up with permanent injuries. That just goes to show that it's cheap to get these chemicals from China. And so you want to put it into your product because people will get, they'll see a result from it. Right. And they'll tell their friends, hey, this thing works for me. And well, no doubt it works for you. It's Cialis.
Right. But if you want Cialis, you go to your doctor and you get Cialis.
Right.
But the thing is that people say, well, I don't want to resort to taking a pharmaceutical like that. Well, I found this pill that they have at the health food store, the nutrition center.
Sure.
That's maybe a general sort of nutrition center, or the shop that has vitamins, not naming any names of any places that sell these things, but they find this and they think, well, this is going to be, it says it's from a natural plant. It says that it's, so these are hidden ingredients.
Right.
And
It's people who don't want to take pharmaceuticals.
and then they were taking 14
Right.
times
Well, and that's the thing is like
the normal dosage.
if you got the actual Cialis pill, it'd be, probably the exact amount of C, it's tested to see that it has the exact right amount. But these pills, any guess what it is that you're getting. And so obviously a lot of people got, permanently injured and let that sit home for a bit. That's your entire life has changed because you took something that you thought was natural and that you thought was going to help you, and you ended up permanently disabled.
Probably thought was more gentle.
Right.
And less harsh than the pharmaceutical pill. And it actually ended up containing 14 times.
And also just a little thing that's sort of like sitting in the story is, they sold this stuff for 6 years. That was a lot of people. And they made a lot of money off of this. I mean, it was,
millions of
tens of millions of dollars they made off of this stuff. And that's just one case, folks.
Right.
I mean,
so we don't know from this whether the manufacturers knew that what was going into the pills contained this, or if they were purchasing it from China thinking they were getting a bunch of horny goat weed, and the people in China said, I have a bunch of competitors who are also selling horny goat weed, and if I want to be the one that's selling the horny goat weed that all of the other people like, I'm gonna put some Cialis in it. And then whenever people in the United States take it, probably the manufacturers who are, testing it on themselves just because they want to be good people and do the right thing. So they're taking it first and going, wow, I had this amazing reaction in this beautiful love experience with my wife last night because I took this pill. And so I'm gonna, this is the manufacturer, or this is the person in China who I'm gonna go with for the ingredients in my horny goat weed or what have you pills, and they don't even know that it was tainted with this pharmaceutical.
Right. And if it's, you're tainting your horny goat weed with Cialis, it's probably black market manufactured Cialis, which is cheap for a reason because who knows what else is in it. Right. So
that's a good point. When we know that's in it, that makes us even more scared, being educated people as we are about what goes on in the world, that there could be something else in it that's even worse.
Right. Yeah. And ultimately, you're right. Even if with the best intentions, you're trying to put together a vitamin pill and somebody sends you a barrel of white powder and says it's horny goat weed. How do you know, looking at this barrel of white powder, well, that doesn't look like it's from horny goat weed. You have no idea. And so it'll come with a lab certificate too, saying, oh, this has been tested. It's 100% organic horny goat weed.
But that certificate that you're looking at was given to you by the people in China who were looking to make money out of you.
Yeah.
So it's just too many people for us to have to trust that are in this.
A lot of steps in the chain are trying to make money and beat their competitors.
And if you want to know how supplements are made, you can attend the Natural Products Expo. They have one that's in the West and one that's in the East in the United States. Just Google Natural Products Expo. You can purchase a ticket to get in there. I don't know how much it is to purchase it. We've always attended as press, but there is this section, it's a huge section that is called Ingredia, I believe. They may have changed the name of it, but anyway, they do have a huge section there. One side of the Natural Products Expo is all of the food products. You'll find lots of vegan products in there. And then the other side is all ingredients that are put into supplements. So if you want to create a protein powder, a pre-workout, a multivitamin pill for women or for men or for athletes, whatever your thing is that you want to create a high protein potato chip, you want to create a high protein salad dressing, which is something that we thought about doing. You go in there and they have ingredients. Basically, you can just walk around and shop ingredients. And here's the 5 different kinds of protein powder. And our peas are, for the pea protein are all organic. They're from over here. We have the complete transparency so you can see who the farmers are. You go over here, these people are like, we have amino acids that are sourced from these laboratories. They're all like highly rated, Here's all their information and everything. And it looks great. So you think you can trust these people, but you are having to trust the broker. And then you're trusting the laboratory. Maybe you're trusting somebody in a foreign country, like who said, I think one of these things that I'm about to read to you talks about the ingredients, that
Sure.
70% of the ingredients in supplements are coming from China.
Yeah.
So even if it looks good to the manufacturers and they have good intentions, it's just so hard to.
Yeah, and I mean, it's not to say there aren't people out, and like you said, there's not people, the people don't have good intentions, and there are people who are, trying their best to make good products, but there is enough opportunity for counterfeiting to enter the process, and from people who don't have the best intentions, I guess I should say. And so let's maybe hit a couple more cases of, just to show that this really does happen all the time. So in 2019, there was a person who got a 3-year sentence for selling a weight loss product containing a fertilizer, 2,4-dinitrophenol. That's not approved for human consumption because it's a fertilizer. But it does have, amphetamine-like effects. And so the people who consumed the dinitrophenol without realizing it, they risk their lives taking the substance.
Right.
You have to wonder, okay, well, they caught one person.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anybody, and because, case after case after case, we find adulteration, and then we go back and check years later, and you will find it again.
Right.
Somebody else is doing it, or the same people are doing it. Here's another great case. This is USP Labs. Recently faced litigation after deceiving athletes by selling pre-workout products with the permitted ingredient geranium extract.
Mm-hmm.
And that was what was listed on the label. But what they were actually using was a prohibited synthetic experimental stimulant called methylhexanine. And they didn't list that on the label. They just called it geranium extract. The products, Jacked and Oxy-Elite Pro, were among the earliest products ever listed on the US ADA, and that's the US Anti-Doping Agency's high-risk list. So Jacked and Oxy-Elite Pro were associated with multiple positive anti-doping tests for methylhexanamine, which is also known as DMAA. And Oxy-Elite Pro was later associated with severe liver damage, requiring some users to undergo a liver transplant. In an indictment brought by the Department of Justice, USP Labs principals admitted that they imported methylhexanamine from a chemical company in China and lied about the source of the ingredients by saying that the DMAA was from natural geranium extract. They also instructed the chemical company in China to create fake certificates that said the ingredient was geranium flower powder. The indictment even cites an email from one principal to another saying, LOL, stuff is completely 100% synthetic. Mm-hmm. There are more examples of fraud in the indictment, including the allegation that 2 USP Labs principals lied when they testified under oath during a case involving a professional athlete who tested positive from Jacked. After nearly a decade of selling dietary supplements that contained illegal performance-enhancing drugs, USP Labs owner and 4 executive officers and staff members pled guilty to mislabeling dietary supplements and were sentenced accordingly. So the court previously sentenced Jacobo Geisler, 44, of University Park, Texas. He was the CEO of USP Labs, to 5 years imprisonment. Jonathan Doyle, 41, was the president. He was sentenced to 2 years. The court also sentenced Cyril Wilson and a number of other employees to, up to 4 years of prison time. And they were required to pay a $4.7 million criminal forfeiture. So first thing, did you hear about this case in the news?
No, I did not.
Neither did I.
But it was so interesting reading about it just recently here as we were preparing for this and thinking about all the athletes that probably took this and were disqualified from being able to participate in competitions because they tested positive for DMAA, which is a prohibited substance for athletes to have in their system. It's a performance boosting drug. So, that's why they put it in there, because they thought, people who, working out at the gym are going to take this and they're going to have the best workout of their life because they're going to be stronger and, maybe they're going to run faster. They're going to do things better than they have in the past. And they're going to be like, oh, wow, this pre-workout is amazing. It really, brings out the best in me. What they don't realize is that they're taking steroids.
Right.
And if you don't know anything about the harms that steroids do to the body, there's a gentleman who I've been working with recently who has heart damage from steroids. And that's the only thing that he did. Other than that, he's been a super healthy guy. And so it's just astounding the kind of health problems that steroids will cause the human body. And for anybody to be laughing about this LOL stuff is completely synthetic and calling it geranium extract, and it's a big joke, and asking the people in China to fake certificates and things like that. These are the kind of unscrupulous people. I mean, think about the earliest images that we have of what a huckster is, a person who's trying to rip other people off. It's that snake oil salesman, the guy who's going from town to town and standing up on a soapbox and saying, take my magic elixir will cure all of your problems. And then people take it, and then they found out later that it has mercury. And of course they thought mercury was good for you back then, but
cocaine and heroin and all the other
that's right, it was cocaine and heroin that was in all of the medicines back then. That's true.
But yeah, and think about it, talk about a sort of a failure to protect us. This stuff was sold, and it's just, little line in this story, for almost 10 years of people getting injured from this, and no one protected us. It took indictments dragging them all the way to trial and criminally convicting them to finally put an end to this one company. I guess the sort of point we're saying here is that if one company is doing this, there are a bunch of other, likely a lot of other also unscrupulous companies thinking this is a way to get an advantage in the market.
And these people must have had a whistleblower, because they had some insider emails that were released that the prosecutors were able to use in court, where in most situations you have these supplement manufacturer companies of very small groups of people, especially at the tops of the organizations. And it's a lot easier for them to keep everything in-house and to prevent whistleblowers. So God bless the whistleblowers that, come forward and do share information that help with lawsuits like this. And
we have, case after case after case like this here. But something you were saying is, a lot of the people who are taking these supplements, if you're an athlete, if you're a professional athlete, yes, the desire to want to get every single sort of benefit that you possibly can, and you read about a particular supplement or extract that might make you a little bit stronger, a little bit faster, a little bit more flexible, might help you recover a little quicker. Any of those things might make you think about what happens to the professional athlete. I mean, their career, their hopes and dreams, and a lot of time depend on being able to play their sport, and then you test positive for a banned substance. And that inalterably just wrecks your career and takes you off track for years sometimes, because the bans can be a very long time unless you can prove they were, accidental. And even when they're accidental, they will still ban you for having done it. A good case here is Lyman Good, who was a UFC fighter. And so he brought a suit against the Vitamin Shop for breach of implied warranty of merchantability when he was suspended from the Ultimate Fighting Championship when he tested positive for anabolic steroids after taking a multivitamin from Gaspari Nutrition that he purchased at the Vitamin Shop. Lyman Good was issued a 2-year suspension, which was later reduced to 6 months. And the decision to reduce the suspension came after the U.S. Doping Agency concluded that the steroid use was a result of taking a multivitamin that was unknowingly tainted with the banned substance.
A multivitamin, not a pre-workout, not something that said get wicked huge that you would think might have something in it. This was a multivitamin made by Gaspari Nutrition, And Gaspari got off the hook in this case because of a technicality. His lawyer didn't file something on time, which is just really such a shame. But tell what happened to the guy from Gaspari. He didn't get off the hook completely.
So the owner of the Gaspari Nutrition, Jared Wheat, who also owns High Tech Pharmaceuticals, has recently been in federal appeals court regarding a district court order to pay the Federal Trade Commission a $40 million judgment for violating an injunction by making repeated assertions about their weight loss supplements that are unsupported by any scientific studies. Appeals court heard arguments in July and has not ruled yet. But based on numerous comments from judges during the trial, the consensus among observers is that the judgment is expected to be upheld.
And we already told you how low the standards were. You can sponsor your own study and have it published in some there's some journals that are less scrupulous than others about
Sure.
what they will or won't publish. And you can have a study where you have 5 people, and maybe these people are people who you handpicked because you thought that they would be likely to have a good response because of their age or their background or what have you. And you pick these people and you give them your supplement, you give them like a really good pep talk. So, you're maybe like more likely to have a placebo effect. You can do all of these things to skew the study. And then you get a study and these people maybe give a verbal report of, yeah, I felt stronger. I felt more energetic. I felt this, I felt that. I feel great about this supplement. Now you have a study, and that study is something that you can use to now be able to make all kinds of crazy claims about your supplement. This supplement makes people feel great. This supplement makes people feel stronger. So there's really freaking low standards.
Sure.
This guy didn't even have that.
Right. Right. And yeah, and one of the things that sort of stands out about these cases is that we have a list here, but a lot of these people were in business selling this stuff for years before they were stopped. And so, yeah, think about all the health damage, all the liver damage, all the kidney damage, all the people who are taking all the heart damage, all the people who did not know they were taking steroids. It's dangerous enough when you know you're taking them. Imagine not knowing and thinking it was just, hey, I'm getting my vitamin, C.
Multivitamin.
Right.
And when people take multivitamins, every time that I ask you, why are you taking a multivitamin? These are people who I know are eating healthy and are otherwise doing everything right. They still won't let go of their multivitamin. And they say it's an insurance policy just in case somehow throughout the course of the day, I didn't end up eating enough foods that had enough vitamin C or enough beta carotene or enough folate or enough, but some kind of vitamin B. There's so many vitamin Bs. And I always say, why do you think that you're not going to get enough? If you're eating a wide variety of foods, they're all colorful foods, because that's where you get a variety of nutrients and of vitamins. It's every color has different vitamins in it, basically. So you might get like your beta carotene. There's a lot of it in green leafy vegetables, but a lot of people associate beta carotene with the pigment of the orange and the yellow vegetables like squashes and sweet potatoes and things like that. But of course, green vegetables are amazing because they have almost everything in them. And that when you pack all those nutrients in together, somehow that makes things green. As photosynthesis happening, I know that. But the green part it has everything in it somehow. But yes, if there's like B vitamins, a lot of times you need to eat grains and nuts to get them. But if you're eating a diet that has lots of different color fruits, lots of different color vegetables, have some grains, have some, and even if you're eating raw, you can soak your grains and sprout them and eat them raw. And, of course, you can have your nuts. Then you'll get everything that you need. And if people tell you something like, this resveratrol pill has the same amount of resveratrol as 20 bushels of grapes. And there's no way you can sit down and eat that many grapes. Or they say this has as much vitamin C as 2 tons of oranges, or whatever it is that they say. When you should know broccoli is actually higher in vitamin C than oranges, but they always associate oranges with it. And that's why they make the pill have an orange flavor to it, trying to make you feel like you're eating a fruit, but you're not. Anyway, they tell you that you need this massive amount. And I always say, if nature did not provide it for you in that amount, you do not need that amount. And if you have more than what nature is telling you need, you're going to have side effects. So we have to let go of this idea that we need maximum strength, and that if a little bit is good for us, that a whole bunch of it is going to be even better for us. It's just not true.
Right. This is actually kind of a good segue into another topic, because we've been talking about people intentionally putting pharmaceuticals basically into products. But what happens when it's not that? It's just, is the pill actually what it says it is? Do the people making them, does it actually contain the herbs, leaves, vitamins and stuff that it says it does? And what happens when, with best intentions, you go out and you try to put something in a pill, but it's contaminated with something else?
Well, yes, even when the ingredients of supplements don't contain such extremely harmful ingredients, you might simply be getting ripped off by purchasing an empty lie, something that you're allergic to that's not listed on the ingredients. For instance, on February 3rd of this year, 2023, the New York Times reported that the New York State Attorney General's office issued a cease and desist letter requiring GNC, Target, Walgreens, and Walmart. So this is not like these are not obscure companies.
This is not Jacked. This is
where everybody shops, and tell them to stop selling certain dietary supplements for herbs like ginkgo, ginseng, and echinacea. These are not things that you would think of, oh, this is created in a laboratory. This sounds like this is from plants. It sounds like it's the most natural, simple, gentle thing ever.
Ginkgo leaves is what I would think.
Right, or echinacea just to prevent getting sick, So, how easy is that? But when they put it in a capsule, you can't see what it is, which is why whenever you might know that I'm very well educated in herbs. I've traveled all over the world studying herbs. I never, ever, ever would take an herb in a pill. You don't know what is in that capsule. If you know the person who is crushing up the herbs and putting it into a capsule, maybe. But why? Why would you do that? It's such a tiny little thing. Drink tea. The herbs that are, especially get the loose leaf tea, you can see what it is, you can smell it, you know what it is. You put it into a little metal with a little metal container with holes in it. You pour the hot water on it, you let it steep, then you're getting your echinacea, you're having your ginseng, your ginkgo. Okay, let me tell you about this situation. According to the letter sent by the AG's office, an investigation conducted determined that many of the products were either unrecognizable or a substance other than what they claim to be.
That is a really high percentage.
Unrecognizable. So, that means, so when we know this because of being involved in these kind of lawsuits, when you are sending a product to a laboratory and asking them to test it, you have to ask them, please test it for XYZ. They can't just test it for everything. One of the things they do is they can test the DNA, but they're looking for the DNA of ginseng. Mm-hmm. If you say, test this to see if the DNA of ginseng is in it, and they say no, mm-hmm. They're not telling you what's in it.
Sure.
They're just telling you it's not that. You would have to know the DNA of the bad thing that you suspect is in there and have them test for that in order for them to tell you that that's in there. So in these other lawsuits where they found Cialis, where they found Viagra, they specifically tested for those drugs. So there's going to be a lot of situations where they say, we don't know what was in it because we didn't know what to tell the laboratory to test for, because there's like millions of substances out there. Anything could be in there. Could be mercury, could be cadmium, could be lead, could be PCBs, could be glyphosate, could be, there's all kinds of horrible things that could be in there that could be poisoning. It could be rat poison.
Yeah. Well, and that's,
if it's in a little capsule, it's a tiny amount, you're not going to feel it right away.
Right. But these are things you take every single day. Right. Sometimes, it's sometimes they're one a day vitamins, and not to mention any names, but there are multiple, there are vitamins that that on the label say, take 3 pills 3 times a day.
Yeah.
Well, every day for months can lead to problems.
It builds up. A lot of these things are cumulative. Anyway, just 21% of the test results from these store brand herbal supplements verified DNA from the plants listed on the product's labels. Just 21%.
So if
1/5.
If you buy 5 ginkgo biloba supplements, one of them might have it.
Yeah, and then the other ones we don't know what's in it.
Yeah.
The Attorney General also stated that none of the 6 dietary supplement products from Walmart's Spring Valley brand, this is not an off weird brand, Spring Valley, doesn't that sound lovely? Spring Valley brand contained purely the advertised ingredient. So none of the 6.
Not a single one.
Testing did not identify DNA from the advertised ingredient in 4 of Walmart's products at all. So they tested 4 products from Walmart and none of them had the DNA of what they claimed was in it.
Yeah.
In contrast, 35% of product tests identified DNA from plant species that were not included on the label or ingredients list. So they did find some other plants.
Mm-hmm.
Tests on Target's valerian root supplement sold under the Up and Up brand at Target. I use the Up and Up brand, but not for supplements. So what we're trying to get across to you is these are not off brands that are weird that, you've never heard of. This is stuff that you probably have in your house right now. They found that it did not contain the herb. Instead, the supplement contained powdered rice, beans, wild carrots, and peas. not valerian root. It contained a bunch of weird, well, not weird, but vegetables that we've all heard of. It's just a filler thing just to take up room in the capsule.
Right. Not anything that anybody would have mistaken for valerian root who was actually trying to make it.
Right. And well, my concern is because I eat all organic is, well, if this was rice, beans, wild carrots, and peas that weren't organic, then you might actually have glyphosate and fungicides and other kinds of harmful things concentrated into this little capsule.
And, there's also another danger to this in that, okay, so you thought it was ginkgo biloba leaf or you thought it was valerian root, and it was actually 5 different other plants.
Right.
What if you were allergic to one?
A study of Walmart supplements found that besides not containing the supplement advertised, many of the supplements contain other ingredients not listed on the label, including allergens. Walmart's ginkgo biloba contained wheat, despite having the words gluten-free written on the label.
Yeah, well, and we all have gluten-free friends or people who have gluten intolerance, and they will all have stories of having eaten something that said it didn't have wheat on it.
Right. And then there might be a day where they say, I don't know what happened because I didn't eat anything, and yet I still had this bloating and I still had this. It might be your supplement. It might have wheat in it. Some of GNC's products sold under the Herbal Plus brand, again, another major brand, were found to contain powdered legumes not listed in the ingredients, which is extremely dangerous for people with peanut and soybean allergies. I mean, think about the people with peanut allergies, they can go into anaphylactic shock. So this is really serious stuff. So what were the reactions of these companies to the test results? Well, Walgreens and Target said they will remove these particular products from the shelves nationwide. Walmart stated that it will only pull the products from the shelves in New York because that's where the AG was that brought this. So they're going to allow these products to be sold in every other state in the country, knowing the problems with these supplements. And GNC simply stated that it was standing behind the quality and purity of their products.
Right.
Which they're just shown to not be very high quality and not be pure at all. But they're still going to use the phrase like quality and purity.
Well, yeah, and I mean, and it says something about these companies' complete lack of fear of any regulation or prosecution, right? And the sort of overall story here was that, yeah, we tested these things and the vast majority of them were not what they said they were. And the best result you got was, well, we'll pull those products that you tested off the shelf. They still got tons of other stuff on the shelf that they haven't tested.
Well, this video is getting really long now, so I want to get through this faster because I know the longer the video is, the less the possibility is that people will watch through to the end. But because I don't want you guys to miss out on knowing about probiotics, because I think probiotics are something that a lot of people are taking, especially people in the health community. Something that really disturbs me is that probiotics are now added to vegan cheeses and yogurts routinely. People are not creating wild cultures for their yogurts. They are taking a pill and they are opening it up and putting, well, not opening up a pill. They're taking a large vat of what we would get in a pill of a powder of lactobacillus or whatever. What's really weird to me is that they use Saccharomyces cerevisiae a lot, which, is nutritional yeast, brewers yeast. It's used for bread and everything too. But the thing is that when it's used for a lot of these other situations like bread and even in brewing, it's heated up. I'm also concerned about vegans eating nutritional yeast. It's also the same thing. Whenever it doesn't end up getting heated up, whenever you eat it raw, you're not killing it. So it's colonized inside your body. So anyway, it's not even a bacteria. And we're always saying probiotics. So it's like supposed to be a bacteria, but this is a yeast, a fungus that is routinely added to so many things. But there's a study that just came out 2023, published in the journal called Antibiotics. So probiotics such as those in Lactobacilli and Enterococci families were found to be resistant to antibiotics such as penicillin, ampicillin, cefoxitin, oxalicin, aztreonam, and vancomycin. So the results of this experimental work show that resistance to antibiotics is present in different types of lactobacilli in probiotic products. That is a quote from the study. This can potentially represent a safety hazard for food with probiotic strains, dietary supplements, as well as medicines that contain them. So they're really warning people. So there's this guy named Peter Cohen. He's a MD. He's with the Cambridge Health Alliance, also works with the Harvard Medical School. He's done a lot of studies on supplements, and he's been sounding the alarm on so many supplements for many years. But just recently, he's also sounding the alarm on probiotics, or as he calls it, the mass marketing of isolated live bacteria for their purported beneficial or probiotic properties. He goes on to say that most of these microorganisms do not have proven health benefits, and their safety has not been fully established. He blames hundreds of small studies. Again, we were telling you about how these companies do these small studies whose results are spun as favorable, and they use lots of creative advertising, and he also blames it on enthusiasm for the microbiome.
Right.
And I do think there's an enthusiasm for the microbiome. The more that we learn about the microbiome, of course, we know how wonderful it is to nurture a healthy system inside of us. We know that there's these little tiny creatures that are living inside our gut that they pretty much determine whether you're healthy or not. They also can affect your mental health. So this is really important stuff. If you're ingesting something that you think is going to be good for you again, and you're ending up taking something that's actually harming you.
Sure.
But he admits that preliminary evidence supports the use of some specific strains of probiotics in certain clinical settings. However, widespread use has greatly outpaced the science. And I've been saying this for years. There are millions, probably trillions, of different types of bacteria that make up your microbiome inside of your body, just inside your gastrointestinal system. There's hundreds of millions that we've discovered thus far, and we know that there are lots of them that we haven't labeled yet. There's probably hundreds of millions more that we haven't labeled yet. And so to have the arrogance and the audacity to think you're going to take a pill that has maybe 5 different types of bacteria in it, and that's going to somehow benefit you, like, why would that benefit you? And so what I recommend that people do if you want to boost your microbiome is do what people have been doing for years when they bake their own sourdough bread. You know about this.
Sure. Like when you're making a sourdough starter or something like that, because the yeast that we have, that are part of our microbiome are also part of our environment.
Right.
And that's how we got them in the first place.
They float in the air.
They are around us. They are on, they're in the air. They're on the surfaces that are on our skins. So if you wanted to make sourdough starter, you would just add water to some flour, let it sit, and the yeast colonies there will then on their own begin to colonize and
so you
leave
makes... it uncovered, right?
Yeah.
Or at least you put a mesh over top of it because you don't want cat hairs or whatever going in, but you want air to be able to get into it, because the good things that we need to be ingesting, the good bacteria, even I should say, are floating around in the air.
Sure.
And they will land on whatever they can. So if you have a food and you leave it exposed and it has some moisture in it, it will colonize.
It'll colonize. That's how we make sourdough starter. It's also how I make sauerkraut and things like that. That's how you make fermented just about anything.
But you have to make it yourself, because if you buy it at the grocery store these days, read the ingredients, you will see that they have added 1 or 2 or 3 at the most specific strains of some kind of bacteria or yeast. And that is a problem, because that is not the way that nature works, and that is not the way your gut works. The way that your gut works and the way that nature works is that if you leave something out and you let it ferment, there's tons of books out there, including my cookbook, that will explain to you how to ferment things. If you ferment things yourself, then you get hundreds and thousands of different types of microbes growing in there. And then when you ingest it, it's all of them that help each other out, work symbiotically.
Sure.
And then you ingest them and you have them in the proper amounts, and you have them in a form that your body can utilize that does benefit to you. It's not going to make you antibiotic resistant like these things are doing. Right.
And it's, and that's something we've been doing for thousands of years. I mean, that's how we preserve things. Giving all the bad bacteria that you come in contact with the tools they need to become antibiotic resistant is something we should all be very, very aware of.
Sure. Let me go on and continue quoting the good scientist here. Probiotics are promoted to assist normal intestinal function and to sustain cardiovascular, respiratory, immunologic, reproductive, and even psychological health. Those are the reasons people take probiotics. Despite the advertised indications, however, there are no large long-term clinical trials proving that probiotics offer these clinical benefits. Consumers are unlikely to appreciate that probiotic supplements may also present risks such as opportunistic infections and allergic reactions. Researchers warn that serious adverse events, such as the proliferation of harmful fungi and bad bacteria in the gut, have been described in dozens of case reports. However, as a result of a lack of structured reporting of adverse events in most probiotic clinical trials, again, they skew these trials in a way that they don't have reporting for the bad reactions. It's just maddening. Anyway, a lack of effective systems to detect post-marketing harm from supplements, which means people call poison control and say, I don't feel so good after taking this thing. Who do they report it to? How does it get information out to other people to warn them? How does it, change the supplement so that in the future they change the formulation or do something to help people? It doesn't go anywhere. The actual rates of opportunistic infections from probiotic supplements are not known. So what's really scary, atypical or acquired resistance patterns in probiotics may signal the presence of mobile genes that are capable of transferring antibiotic resistance to pathogenic bacteria. So what they're saying is it can make the bacteria that you have in your gut antibiotic resistant. So if you have gotten yourself into a situation where you've thrown off your gut bacteria by taking these things, and then that bacteria becomes antibiotic resistant, what are you going to do to fix that? Because you can't take an antibiotic. An antibiotic will not work anymore. It's antibiotic resistant. This was established under experimental conditions, both in vitro and in rodents so far. They found in vitro the probiotic Lactobacillus plantarum, M345, to be very precise, can transfer erythromycin-resistant genes to Listeria monocytogenes. So you know what Listeria is? It's a very toxic bacteria. There was a scare about it being on lettuce leaves or something a few years back. It makes people really sick. You don't want that to be antibiotic resistant, because if you get sick from Listeria now, you can't take an antibiotic to get rid of it.
Sure.
To date, however, only limited resources into this researcher's knowledge. Only one study involving 7 subjects were dedicated to determining whether such transfers might occur in human intestines. So there are people who are purposely putting blinders on and not looking into this because they don't want to have to take the products off the market, because people are making a lot of money and they don't want to tell them you can't make money doing this anymore, because we have this system of capitalism where if somebody's making a lot of money, then they donate money to politicians and to officials that are in positions to help them out. And then those officials tell people to look the other way, don't enforce this or that on them. We've been involved in lawsuits and things like that, all kinds of situations where that happens. It's just rampant in our society, the corruption, and so people purposely look the other way.
Sure. Yeah.
All right, so what we really want to talk about, this is probably like the most serious thing, is liver injuries.
So yeah, liver injuries resulting from supplement use. The Journal of Hepatology published an article in 2015 about a 2-day research symposium that was sponsored by the American Association for the Study of Liver Disease and the National Institutes of Health regarding dietary supplements. They found that the incidence of liver injury from supplements in the United States has been growing, along with the popularity of supplements. In fact, herbal and dietary supplement-induced liver injury accounted for a whopping 20% of cases of hepatotoxicity based on the research data. The most serious of the hidden ingredients contaminating over-the-counter supplements included anabolic steroids, but others as innocent as green tea extract were also problematic. And multi-ingredient nutritional supplements were the most complicated to implicate. Anabolic steroids were the easiest to find because they have a very distinctive serum biochemical marker that makes it easy to spot when testing. Green tea extract is one of many ingredients in supplements that can cause an acute hepatitis-like injury. However, most of the injuries are caused by multi-ingredient supplements where the specific responsible ingredient is difficult to ascertain.
Let's just stop for a second. Green tea extract.
Yep.
So we all think of green tea as being super healthy, and it is if you drink it as a tea. Once again, if you got the leaves, You put them in your little sieve, you put the hot water on them, you drink a cup of that tea. People in Japan drink 10 cups of that tea a day. They get all kinds of health benefits from it. That's the way to do it. But of course, what do we do in the West? We decide, well, if drinking the tea is good, well, we're going to take it to the laboratory. We're going to do extractions from it. We're going to pulverize it, and we're going to concentrate it and put it in a higher dosage so that people supposedly will get more benefits from it. But what happens whenever we deviate from nature, people? Are you starting to see the pattern here? And this book that I want to talk about in a minute, Whole by T. Colin Campbell, talks a lot about why you need to eat the whole food version to get the correct amount of whatever nutrient it is you're after. All the nutrients. Eating whole plant foods is the answer. When you extract and enhance and concentrate nutrients, it always gives you a side effect. It always causes health problems. It never causes more benefit. It always causes harm. So anyway, I just wanted to say
that's a good thing to jump in and say. And this, what happens next sort of hits on things that we've been talking about. So what's worse is that when 97 implicated products of injury from green tea extract were examined, 29 of the products did not list green tea extract as an ingredient. So, I mean, that's
it's another one of those hidden ingredients that they put in there just so that you would have that feeling of stimulation. So you would think, oh, wow, I'm taking this pill and now I have more energy.
Yeah. And so you could be thinking, I want something to help me lose weight. I want a pre-workout that helps me get energized, but I don't want to take green tea extract. And you look and you say, oh, great, this one doesn't have it. I'm good. No, you're not.
Well, we were just recently in a store when we were looking at supplements, and we had read about this. And so we were looking for green tea extract, and we can't find it anywhere. So one or two things has happened. Either because these studies are starting to get out, people are taking it out of their product, or they're taking it off the label. So that you don't see that there's green tea extract in it because they know anybody who's health minded, who's read an article about how harmful green tea extract is causing people to have liver damage, permanent liver damage. That means that you can't drink wine anymore, people. That means you have to have a liver transplant. It's a big deal when you damage your liver.
Sure, or worse. I mean, 10% of the cases of liver damage of a related green tea extract were fatal.
Okay, yes. So that's so I said there's two things that are happening. One is that they're taking it out of the product. Two is that maybe they're just taking it off the label. So we don't really know, just because we don't see green tea extract in the supplements anymore, whether it's in there or not. Unless you can afford to send your supplement to a laboratory and have them test it for green tea extract, you do not know whether there's green tea extract in your supplement or not. Because a lot of these companies, back when green tea extract was all the rage, which was just a few months ago, they had it in their pre-workout. They had it in their, whatever. They
I remember it seeing it with their
post-workout. It was everywhere. So do you think that once they've mixed all the powders together, they have it all ready to go into the vats? They find out these studies are coming out and somebody says, we can't have green tea extract listed as an ingredient on our product anymore because people won't buy it. We'll all lose money. So we can't have it there. And they go, well, we already have all this stuff mixed up and we spent thousands, maybe tens of thousands of dollars on these ingredients. And we already mixed up the green tea in there. Are they going to throw all that away? No, they're not. Come on, human nature. They want money. They're going to continue to put it in the little vats and they're going to sell it to you until somebody sues them and says, I got liver damage from your product. And then they go, now you have to prove it. You have to do all the laboratory testing and bring in the experts and hire attorneys and do all this stuff, because it's not like you can report it to a government agency and they're going to do all of that for you.
They're, if they want to get away with this stuff, the law is set up so that they can. And they know that.
Okay, so the reason why the green tea extract, I know people are like, why my green tea is so good for me, how could it possibly be bad? Well, you might know that prevalent catechin in green tea. Catechins are the things in it that, well, the main things in it that everybody goes on and on about it that makes it so healthy. I think there's a lot more in green tea besides the catechins that makes them healthy. It's a green leaf that has not been burnt. So that's why it's good. Any green leaf is good for you. If you took spinach and you poured hot water on it and you drank that every day, it would be really good for you. Just about any green, kale, anything. But anyway, this just happens to be the tea leaf and it has some caffeine in it. So there's another reason why people enjoy drinking it. They do like the stimulant effect. And I don't know, small amounts of caffeine maybe are okay. But anyway, catechins are in green tea, and people have made a big deal out of catechins being anti-cancer. Well, the most prevalent catechin that's in the largest amount in green tea is called epigallocatechin, EGCG for short. So EGCG, when it's in high doses, causes liver toxicity, sorry to say. But when you have it in small doses, just like so many things, it's okay. It's actually even good for you. But if you have it in too high of a dose, it causes liver toxicity.
Right.
Another lesson here. Stick with nature, folks. Drink your tea.
So I'll read a few more of the studies about EGCG. A 2009 study linked ECGC supplements with 34 cases of hepatitis, it's liver inflammation, including one death. The scientists concluded with our analysis of the published case reports suggests a causal association between green tea and liver damage. The hepatotoxicity is probably due to ECGC or its metabolites, which, under particular conditions related to the patient's metabolism, can induce oxidative stress in the liver.
That's an intense study,
Sure.
Because like I said, we always think of green tea as being healthy, good for us. Hence, green tea extract, extracts are always bad, but extract was put into so many supplements thinking that they're doing people some kind of benefit. And EGCG, quite a tongue twister sometimes.
Yes, it
is something that's good for us in small amounts. Then they're finding out, hey, well, under particular conditions, which these particular conditions just happen to be concentrated.
Sure. And sort of to your point, there's another study that found that low concentrations of EGCG have a beneficial effect on the cardiovascular and metabolic functions in normal physiology and pathophysiology. Low concentrations of EGCG directly and indirectly stimulate cellular events, including intracellular signaling, nuclear and mitochondrial functions, and lysomal autophagy. By contrast, high concentrations of EGCG may cause severe stress that damages cellular integrity and disrupts nuclear and mitochondrial function and lysomal autophagy. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I mean, we now know that this was a thing that in small quantities is beneficial, but being what we are in the supplement industry, being what it is, way more is always better, and it's clearly not. And a lot of people were injured from this. Right.
Well, I think that again, it's really important for people to understand that they need their supplements. They don't need to supplement. They will get everything they need from their food, eating whole plant foods. So please read the book Whole by T. Colin Campbell. If you want to skip to the section about this kind of stuff, there's a chapter called Reductionist Supplementation, chapter 11. Now, this book by T. Colin Campbell. So if you don't know who T. Colin Campbell is, he also wrote the book, The China Study, which is groundbreaking research that was, one of the largest studies that's ever been done in the history of the world on nutrition, where they actually looked at the food and lifestyle habits of literally millions of people in China that they had gathered research on. And these scholars at many top universities around the world, in England and the United States, they all poured over this data and put it together and found all kinds of correlations that taught them a lot of new things about how our food and lifestyle affects us and what actually ends up causing our diseases that we have. Cancer and heart disease being their most prevalent diseases that we have, and they're mostly dietarily related. So the China Study talks about that in thorough detail, and I highly recommend it to everybody. But that book is, bestseller for so long. I don't know if as many people know about Whole. And I, gave this away
Mhm.
when it first came out. And, I've done a lot of things to try to promote it. And I'm always telling people to read it. This is like my very favorite book on nutrition because it explains so many things about all the different government agencies and dietary agencies that we think are there to protect us and what they're really about and what they're really doing. Everything, we're talking about the FDA today, but there's also, different boards that recommend things like our food pyramid. It used to be the 4 food groups. We have all kinds of nutritional boards that are in the United States, in England, and the European Union that are which is very prevalent. And so many of the things that we say they say we take for granted. And nobody's actually bothered to look at the science behind so many of the things that they're saying. And T. Colin Campbell has been at the forefront of all of that stuff. He is always on every panel that any large agency, whether it be a government agency or what have you, world agencies, anybody on health, he's one of the, if not the most preeminent experts on nutrition in the world. And so he's always on all of those boards, and he talks about so often how he's the only one that doesn't have a vested interest in some industry that's there to try to skew things so that it comes out saying it's okay to eat dairy, it's okay to eat meat, it's okay to spray pesticides, it's okay to do this or that, whatever horrible things that they make money from. They're trying to essentially lie to the public and hide science and hide information, and so that it doesn't hurt their bottom line. And so he talks about that in detail. And a lot of times you think, oh, this person's a dietitian and they're recommending that I do this or that. This person is a nutritionist and they have all these degrees and diplomas, and this person's a doctor and they're telling me to do this and that. And he talks all about the reasons why they might not know what they're talking about, and they might have been brainwashed just as much as the rest of the public, if not more, because they have been subjected to textbooks and programs that were essentially sponsored by these different industries that are trying to tell people it's okay to have a little bit of Coca-Cola and potato chips and meat and cheese and all the other stuff.
Sure.
And fish oil is where you're supposed to get your omega-3s from. We didn't even have, so we're running out of time here, but I wanted to get into the fact that they found PCBs and mercury in fish oil. Not only that, they found that it caused cancer. It just, he talks about this, and again in chapter 11. I'm just going to read you from this, but I won't do that, and I would just recommend that you read this book. But he also talks about studies that were done with vitamin A, with beta carotene, with vitamin E, where they would see that people who eat diets that are high in these things have immunity to diseases that other people don't have immunity to. The studies that were done with beta carotene, people who ate the most beta carotene, they weren't getting cancer. So they said, okay, well, it must be the beta carotene. But it wasn't the beta carotene. It was eating a rich plant-based diet of whole plant foods. And so when they took the beta carotene and they extracted it, they told people to keep eating their crappy old standard American diet, sad diet, and just take this pill. They got cancer at higher rates than ever and were dying faster than ever. And they had to stop the study because it was killing people to give them these pills. But yeah, you walk into a supplement store today, you walk into your health food store and go down the vitamin aisle, you will find vitamin A pills.
Mhm.
You might find beta carotene pills, which is interesting. But it's just so sad that we know we have the science now that taking those pills actually speeds up cancer, makes it worse. It doesn't prevent it. And yet they're still selling these supplements because they make money doing it, and nobody's stopping them.
Right.
So we're just trying to warn you to not believe the hype and the marketing that's out there. Instead, look for reputable sources like what we're reading you today has been scientific articles by reputable scientists from reputable journals. And those 3 levels of reputableness that people don't realize that they have to have all of those things. You can't just find a study. It has to be a study that's a large study. It has to be a study that's published and peer reviewed, and published where? Published in a journal that is highly respected, like the Journal of the American Medical Association, like Epidemiology, like Nature, like, there are certain journals that are well respected. If it's a journal that nobody's ever heard of before, look into it. Who are the owners of this journal? If you're not familiar with journals, ask around. If it's not a journal that you've ever heard of before, chances are somebody probably paid that journal to put that study in there so that they could promote their product and make these claims that we're talking about that the FDA will allow them to make if they can say, oh, here's one study that says it.
Right. I think, one thing we maybe didn't get to was that there have been the studies that say there are benefits from taking various vitamins and, herbs and things like that are very small scale studies, or they are, not studies of people actually taking the supplement and getting a benefit, but it's more like we think that the mechanism that this particular, vitamin or whatever is going to have this effect on your cells, and that would be a good thing. But whenever we have looked, and it seems like there have been a number of large scale studies now at does taking multivitamins offer you any health benefit, any benefit in longevity over people who don't take them? Every single large scale study says no, there is no benefit from taking this. This is all marketing.
And people will laugh and say, okay, so we have expensive urine, so we're peeing it all out, because they'll say things like it's water soluble, so it won't hurt you. Well, maybe vitamin B12 is water soluble, but what else is in that pill? Right. You don't know what's in that pill. There could be all kinds of toxins, there could be heavy metals, there could be pharmaceuticals,
allergens,
sorts
of things.
Yeah.
I mean, the best case scenario is that you end up with expensive pee that doesn't do you any good. The worst case scenario is highly probable, is that you end up taking, you unknowingly taking a bunch of heavy metals or pesticides or herbicides. You unknowingly take pharmaceuticals, or the pill doesn't have the quantities of the things it says it has and the quantities it does, and you are getting overdosed with things that might otherwise be beneficial for you. The risks of that they're not minimal, because every time we have looked, we have found the vast majority of supplements do not contain what they say they contain, and do contain things that are not on the label. So you are taking, best case scenario, I've wasted a lot of money and I'm peeing things out. But the worst case scenario is I need a new liver within the next week.
It's too big of a gamble. And right. Also, I'm concerned about cancer, because as we know, cancer is a result of inflammation that occurs over a long period of time and creates a situation where you have a system that starts breaking down, and cells start doing things that they're not supposed to do because they've been under such stress for such a long period of time. And so if you are taking a supplement that has a toxin in it that is harming, say, your stomach lining, your kidneys, your liver, might even be harming your endothelial system inside your vascular system, the lining inside of your veins and your capillaries, causing inflammation, you might end up with some symptoms like achy joints or feeling fatigue. That's the thing that's so insidious about these things, is that people think they're just taking the vitamin pill as an insurance policy, when in fact the cumulative damage that is happening in their body over taking this thing every day for a long period of time, it can lead to cancer. It can lead to not just your liver failure happening fairly quickly, that you can then route back and say, okay, all of these symptoms started right about the time I started that new supplement. It might be that you're not remembering. You're going to think, oh, maybe it was genetic, because, well, my mom had cancer too. And
sure,
that's the number 2 way of dying other than heart disease. And the same thing happens with heart disease a lot of times, is people just say, oh, well, somebody in my family had heart disease, so that's why I have it. It's not because I eat Big Macs every day. It's not because I took steroids. It's not because I did all these things that were harmful to my heart and to my vascular system. It's not because I love salt and I put it on everything. Right. They just discount all those things, and they say, oh no, it was hereditary. But you can turn off the bad genes. You can improve your situation a great deal, and you can prevent something that otherwise you might have been genetically inclined towards if you make the right choices. And so I just encourage people to not take supplements because of the risk that's involved.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so that's all we wanted to say. And we've had personal experiences. My mother died of cancer, and I warned her for many years about taking supplements, and she just loved her supplements, and her doctor was telling her to take them, and she thought that they were good, and they were causing a lot of gastrointestinal problems, and I believe they led to her lymphoma. And so, I mean, I'll just go ahead and say it, that and her exposure to glyphosate. Anyway, there are things that we can avoid. We can help prevent cancer by eating a whole food plant-based diet that is organic, a clean source of drinking water, and making sure that you have your filters on your water, have your water tested, and don't take chances taking these things, these synthetic things.
Right.
Is there anything you wanted to add to that?
No, you might think you know what you're taking, but you really never know. And that's the sad truth, is that there's just no way to know in this industry if you're really getting something that's good for you. And the evidence tends to suggest that way more likely than not, you are not getting something that's good for you.
Right. Okay. So anyway, we send this out into the universe with love, and we hope that it benefits you. If you've listened to this all the way to the end, God bless you. And we hope that you will like and subscribe, and we'll make more videos to give you more good health information in the future. Thank you.
Thanks so much.
One more thing.
This video was over an hour long, and we were only able to cover some of the problem supplements.
Yeah, we were planning on talking about protein powders and spirulina and green powders, but video is getting so long that we just decided to wrap it up. And so we'll have to save those for future videos, but stay tuned. Make sure that you subscribe and hit the notification bell so that you'll know when they are released. And until then, we wish you health, happiness, and vegan peace.